When I recently asked you for your feedback, which videos of mine you enjoyed the most, quite a few of you mentioned you love seeing me make journals from beginning to end. So for this month's design team project for the Digital Collage Club, we are making a small soft spine junk journal. In today's part 1, we are making the cover and adding the signature bases. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So I have been gifted this beautiful vintage book by my sister-in-law for Christmas, and I think this will make a great cover for the journal I'm planning to make. It has this beautiful old German font, but of course for this project I will only need the outside covers. I won't need the spine either, but of course I will eventually use all the parts of this book. So I will first separate the text block. And then I'll cut the front and back covers off of the spine. So you want to make sure that your covers obviously are fairly even and a similar size. And then we also need 2 more pieces of cardboard or chipboard or something in approximately the same size. This will be the inside of our cover. This is the back side and this is the front. And if you don't have any vintage book covers, you can do the same thing just using 2 pieces of chipboard or thick cardboard. So this is going to be my outside and that's going to be my inside. Obviously, we're still going to cover these. And in between, we will have some fabric for our spine, which is going to go in between these layers. So next, I want to paint these insides here, which are now of course very light from where we cut them. And I mixed some paint, which is sort of similar to my book color. It's a bit too greenish, but this is the best I got right now. So I'm just going to paint this edge here so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb later. This color actually is quite a close fit, I'd say. Since this is a design team project for the Digital Collage Club, let me introduce you to the downloads I've selected for this endeavor. And for those of you who may be new here, the Digital Collage Club is an exclusive membership-based website offering a vast collection of royalty-free digital craft supplies. And when you sign up for either a yearly or a lifetime membership, you gain instant access to a treasure trove of unique images and resources. Each week, new images are added, providing you with fresh inspiration. And the best part is you can even sell the craft items you create using these images. So as I mentioned, there are 2 kinds of memberships available. You can choose between a 1-year membership or a lifetime membership. And with the lifetime option, you pay once and gain unlimited access to all the images and tutorials for a lifetime. In the video description box below, you'll find discount codes for both membership types. And of course, I want to mention that if you use these links and codes, I receive a commission, which also greatly supports my small creative business. So thank you so much if you decide to sign up or have already joined in the past using my link. Thank you for considering the Digital Collage Club and supporting my creative journey. So let me show you the 2 kits that I have chosen for this project. So one is the BELLE EPOQUE ATCs. And the other one is the Bills, Invoices and Receipts Kit. So while those are drying, let's cover our inside cover pieces. I'm going to use these here from the Bills, Invoices and Receipts Kit from the Digital Collage Club. They are big enough to cover the panels. I'm going to use my 3-in-1 beaking glue because this is not water-based, so I know it's not going to warp my paper. I want to spread it out a bit so I don't get any lumps. Oops, I put it on a bit crooked. I hope that will still be okay. So now I can cut down the sides and the corners. And then I can fold these. And glue them over. Oh, that was wrong. Oh well. It's better to glue the two adjacent flaps down first and not go around. So I think you get nicer corners that way. Because then you can kind of just fold these in here. And then those will look nicer. Okay, it's a bit crooked, but it's fine. So I covered both, and these are going to be on the inside like this. And for the outside front cover, I would like to have a focal point. So I printed and cut out some of these BELLE ATCs. And there were 3 I considered as my focal point. The first one is this black and white one. The second is this one, also gorgeous. But then I decided I'm going to go with this one because what I love in this one is the mixture of modern, grunge, and vintage. And I thought that was perfect, and that is going to be the tone of this journal. I want to add a little bit more purple because her dress is quite purple. If you've been following my channel, then you might know that I recently received an amazing package from my dear friend Louise Heinzel. And she had wrapped it in this paper, which she told me was from banana boxes. So this is what bananas here get delivered in the supermarkets. I've never been able to get this paper, but it is super cool. And you see it is purple. And I think this would make a great frame around this photo. And it would enhance the purple in her dress. And this color combination is so out of my comfort zone. So I love the challenge of using these colors more. So I'll cut out a piece here and I think I'll stitch around it. Let's cut a piece off. I don't want the frame to be too wide. First of all, because I don't want too much purple. And second of all, I don't want to cover up too much of this gorgeous cover either. Ooh, and what if we don't even line this up, but turn it like that? Yes, I like it when it's off a little bit like this, and then we could even grunge that up a little more. I have already inked up the edges of the ATC. I will also do that here with my banana paper. So a few fights with my sewing machine later. I have this. I've selected some fabric for my spine. I think I want it this way. So this is going to be sandwiched in between my plates. I'm not sure yet how wide I want it to be, but it will look something like this. So this fabric, I forgot to tell you, is by Marsha Dorsey, and it's called Treasure Hunt, and it's a canvas fabric. And for the inside, I'm going to use this one, which is by Seth Apter, and it's called Printed Matter. As always, I will link my source for these beautiful designer fabrics for you below. It's a German online store. And in between, because I do want it to have a bit more body, I'm going to add this piece of packaging. which is cut a little smaller than the rectangles. So all of these layers will go in between my boards. So I'm going to glue all of these layers together using some watered down PVA glue. I might end up cutting this down a little bit. And your spine does not have to be as tall as your covers. You could totally have the spine smaller. Next, I cut out all of these invoices and receipts from that same digital kit that I used for my inside cover plates. And I want to add some interest to these. Again, I want to mix the vintage and modern theme. So I'm going to add some colorful stamping on these. Let me share the stamps that I will be using. And this one here from BELLE Studio. It has the number SA70187. Another one from BELLE Studio with the number SA60651. And another one from BELLE Studio with the number SA50016. Then a Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamp set called Glitch with the number CMS404. Another Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz set called Mini Media Marks CMS364. And finally, this one by Studio Light, which I have never tried before. And this has the number SLGR stamp 229. And I think these are the colors I'm going to use. So as you can see, this is going to be colorful. So Abandoned Coral, Mustard Seed, Uncharted Mariner, Peacock Feathers, Crackling Campfire, Picked Raspberry, and Villainous Potion. And if you want more of a watercolory effect, then you just mist your stamp before you stamp it. So once I have everything stamped, I'm going to take this inside book cover as a guide. So I know this is the size of my cover. And I can go ahead and take some other papers. I am taking some original vintage papers. And these will be the papers that will get sewn into this signature. So for example, for this one, I'm going to fold it in half. And I want this to be a pocket. And I want this to be like its own page. So we're going to put this here as a page. And we're going to be sewing through this. You can do this either with your sewing machine or you can hand stitch it like you would sew in a signature in a journal, like for example with a pamphlet stitch. And then I'm going to close this up and make this into a pocket, which will then be its own separate page. But it's easier to decorate this before it's sewn in the spine. So I want to find some papers I can add. This one, for example. Do I ink it up? Yes, I'll ink up the edges. I'll tear it down a little bit. And let's find another piece for the back. And I'm just realizing what I should have done is before I glue these together, I sew my signatures onto just this piece of fabric, then we wouldn't see it on the outside. That's annoying. I'll just have to go with it. So I'll start by just sewing this right through the middle somewhere in this area. Since I don't know yet how wide my spine is going to be, I can just put it wherever, basically. Okay, so I've sewn right through it. You can see it here. We also unfortunately see it here. And now I'm just going to glue this shut so that it becomes a pocket. So that will be our first page in our journal. This is a very, very different way of putting together signatures, and I think it's super fun to try this. Next, I have this piece here. So I'm going to fold this. Ooh, this might not be a good one to use because this really is breaking. You see this? I'd rather use this in something else. This is not good for folding. How about some map? We have Iceland, Norwegian Sea. So let's add this. I think for this one I will leave the outside, but on the inside maybe add some bits and pieces. We could do a little bit of collaging here. We don't need to cover up everything. I think that's good to go. So let's crease this again. And I'll sew this, leaving a little bit of a gap between the pocket here and this page so that we have some room to add more ephemera. It helps to clip down your piece so that it doesn't go completely crooked. So we have 1, 2, 3 pages now. Next, I want to add this envelope, and I want it to be a single page. So I need to cut it open on the top and the bottom. So that way I can sew it in here and then close it up again. But of course I want to cover this one as well. So I think I'll just add some collaging again. So here's my collaging, and as you can see I've also sewn around it twice with a messy running stitch. So now I can go ahead and stitch this as my next page in here. Okay, it's stitched in, so now I can glue my flaps together. Then I'll add a paper clip to keep this closed for now. Then I have this beautiful piece of vintage ledger paper. Again, I'm going to make this into a pocket, so I'll sew through that. Next, I'll take this library card and I will fold that, maybe not quite in half, so it's not so regular. So this will be just a folded page. I do want to cover the inside here and this side. This side I think I will leave. Okay, so I've covered it here and here, left this blank, just inked up the edges. I also added some walnut stain distress ink on the back side of this print so that I wouldn't see the white here. So I'll go ahead and sew that one in. I have this large vintage envelope which is already glued shut. So I just need to shorten this a little bit. So what if I can put it in like this and leave the sides open? I'm just trying to see how this would fit in. Maybe trim it down just a little more. So I've collaged both sides of the envelope. Here I left the German writing. I didn't want to cover that. And now I can go ahead and sew this in as well. For my last page here, I'll add another smaller one. Or maybe put it a little further down like this. And the fun thing about this method is also that I can now still go to my sewing machine and stitch through here and even through here, because I can bend this back completely like that. So I just feel like I want one more bigger page also on the front here, because otherwise this one is a bit awkward if it's the only larger one. So I'll make another one for in front here. So I chose another ledger paper for this first page. So now in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pages. So I think that's enough as a base. And we can now add our covers. So we can probably cut these down a little bit. So one side needs to be sandwiched in. Oh, I cut so crookedly. It's okay. In the front like this. And then the other part in the back. I'm going to use my PVA glue for this because it's thicker. You could also use your Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1 glue. Try to make sure it's straight. Just kind of hard to see when your edge is as crooked as mine. And then we glue this one on. And we do the same on the back side. And I'm trying to leave, again, approximately as much space here on the end between the last page and the cover as I did in between here. Just making sure that it's straight. And I'll clamp these down for a while so that they really adhere well. You could also just put some heavy books, clamp these together, and then put a heavy book here and here. It's actually a few days later. Everything is obviously by now dry. Our covers are in place, our signatures are in place. I like the way they are distributed quite evenly here. And looking at the cover now with fresh eyes, I think this cover needs a little bit more. So I took out this Tim Holtz fabric. I will write the name of it down here. And this one here, I know it's very colorful, but I think the cover needs it. Since we're going for a mixture of vintage and modern, I think this piece would be a very fun addition, and it would still leave enough room so that we see most of this beautiful border. The only thing I want to do is to iron it because I don't like that this edge is folded up like this. But instead of using an iron, I'm going to use my little hair straightener, which is a tip I got from one of Louise's videos. This is just perfect for little pieces of fabric where you don't want to get out your iron and your ironing board for something this small. This is just perfect. Louise is, of course, Louise Heinzel, just in case you don't know her yet. I will link her channel below. She has all kinds of amazing tips. And then the other thing I want to add is a little piece of this die cut. Just, I think the top, maybe like that. And this one comes from the Suzy and Tim Holtz Thinlet set. It's called Garden Greens and has the number 661206. And it's this piece right here. I used black cardstock and I used some of this Inca Gold fast drying metal gloss paint in the color brown gold. So let's first glue this onto our fabric. I'm just going to use my textile glue. You use what you have on hand. Although I maybe wouldn't use a glue stick for a cover because I'm not sure that would hold up over the years. And again, I'm not putting it on straight. I find it looks more interesting and dynamic if we angle it a little bit. Then we can glue this down as well. I love how much these colors add, and I love that we have a little bit of purple in here, which of course works beautifully with this banana paper and the purple we have in this image. And then we can snip this off. Then I want to add a little bit of bunched up thread underneath for some additional texture. Don't like the way that bunched up. Let's try that again. Even bunching up a thread needs to be learned. And I don't claim to have mastered that. So let's glue that on. This time I'm choosing my art glitter glue because of the fine metal tip. And it's great to have a cloth nearby to dab away any extra glue. And we want to make sure this is really glued on since this is a cover and it will get some wear and tear. We don't want any pieces falling off with time. And I also feel like I want to add some of this gold that I used for the die cut here on the edges of this banana paper, maybe even on the edges of the print, just a hint of it. So I'll just add a little bit of water and then use a brush. If you have paints like this that dry out and you're adding water, be sure to let the surface completely dry before you add your lid. Otherwise, you can get some mold. You don't want that. So I'm just lightly going to brush over the edges. My brush is quite dry, so I'm getting this kind of like chalk paint dry brush effect now. Just a faint touch of it. And I'd like to take this one step further now and add some more golden embossing powder. Did you see this coming? I did not actually. I wish there was a way to randomly sprinkle some of it on the edge here. I can't really use like water splatters because I cannot dry it from the back. And if you would heat up the embossing powder from the front when you have water as a base instead of something like the embossing gel, then your powder unfortunately just blows away. You need to be able to heat it up from the back, which I cannot now because it's already on my cover. So I will do the best I can to spread it unevenly using this embossing dabber. Just kind of lightly dab it here where I want it to be, hoping that it won't be too much. These are the moments where you really hold your breath and you hope that you don't ruin your whole cover. That would be bad now. Okay, that's actually not bad. It's a little more here than I anticipated. I can brush some of that off here, especially from the fabric and the book cover. I wanted more here, but let's emboss this first and we'll see if we need any more. I think it looks great. It's not the exact same gold as here. Do you see that this is lighter than this? But I still think they go together. We have some of it coming in here. You can see it a little bit here. So I am fine with that. In part 2, we'll embellish these pages. So hope to see you back here in a week for that video. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.